And with that, I am going to turn it over to Cristal, who's going to tell us a little bit about what she does and how she got in this business. Take it away, Cristal.
Hi, guys. Good morning or good afternoon. My bad. So my name is Cristal. I know two of you guys here on this call, Virginia. Very nice to meet you today. So how I got into this business, it was a very long time ago. I was about 14-ish. I started just hanging out with my dad, just going to job sites with him. At that point of his life, he was still working with a larger construction company. He wasn't working on his own just yet. So I got to see a lot of job sites. I got to see some roofing sites, some like really fine cabinetry, some houses that were being built from the bottom up. So I got a full perspective basically of what the construction industry was. And one of the main things back then, this must have been like 2003, I want to say. I don't want to do the math right now, but around that time, I didn't see a lot of women in construction. Most of the people that were working for Caesar Construction was the company, were all guys. So we're talking like 20 guy crews at a time and all men. And so I never really saw myself working in this industry when I was younger. But every summer that I had the chance, I would go with my dad and I would hang out with my dad. I would call it hangout, but he kind of started putting me to work a little bit, cleaning here, painting this or something, because I was very detailed since the very beginning. But things changed because he opened his own company and he started to get his own clients. He had the blessing of his old boss to go ahead, start his company. If he needed workers, if he needed tools or anything, that old boss was there. So it was really good to see that transition of my dad going from a bigger construction company to working on his own now, getting his own clients in a healthy way instead of like fighting or you're stealing my clients or whatever. Like it was a really good way to see that transition. And so once my dad started getting his own clients, then I got just a tiny little bit more involved. But again, this was just summer, kind of like the summer job for me. I got to meet one-on-one with his clients. I got to put in my 2 cents of opinion, like, oh yeah, that color is really nice, or this and the other. And then in high school, I kind of got away from that because I had other things that I wanted to do in the summer. So I stopped working with him most of my high school. And so it was at the end of high school where I decided I wanted to take a gap year. During that gap year, my dad gave me a choice. He said, you don't have to go to school, but you have to get a job. And so I said, that's good dad advice, right? Like, you don't want to go to school? Okay, that's totally fine, but you got to get a job. So I started working in a restaurant. I didn't enjoy it. I started looking for jobs as babysitters. I never found one. And so one day, going back to my roots, essentially, I asked my dad, can I work with you? Can I come to work with you? And it was actually at that time when his assistant quit on him for, I forget what reason it was. I think he was moving away or something. He quit on him. And so my dad was like in the middle of a job. I had zero experience. I was 19 because I did graduate a year late from high school. So I was 19. And then I went to work with my dad. Day one, he believed in me way too much. He gave me one of the harder things to do. But at the beginning of the day, it was really, really hard to do. At the end of the day, I had conquered it. I was like really, really good at it. And up to now, it's one of my greater skills, I want to say, in construction. It's just, I'm not sure if you guys would be familiar with it, probably not, but it's that white thing that you put on walls just to start finishing the wall. So that was the hard skill that he gave me at the beginning of the day. I conquered it. I did it well. So then I really started to fall in love with this industry. Week 1 went by and I learned so much. I learned about what's behind a wall. I learned the steps that it takes to do a whole construction project, right? The meetings with the clients, the selection of material, all of this stuff I'm starting to learn. And so that was 11 years ago. Today, where am I today? So today, I run the business side, I run the design side, and I run the admin side. The only thing that I no longer am running is the build side. So the build side my dad has dedicated his life to building things. And so he is a master builder. Because he's a master builder, I've put a lot of trust in my dad to build the team, to teach the new people that are going to be coming into our company. If we hire someone or if we have other subs in working within our company, I trust my dad to handle them very well. But the thing is that communication between me and my dad has to be very, very clear, and it has to start from the top, right? He taught me how to communicate with our clients well, so that now that I am communicating with our clients, I can communicate to our master builder, who will then communicate to our subcontractors, and so on and so forth. So that's essentially what I do on the job site side. I still do get my hands dirty whenever I need to, because I learned everything over the past 11 years. I learned to do absolutely everything that it takes to build a house. And in my opinion, that actually was one of the greater things that happened, that I didn't just come in and said, I just want to focus on the one side that I like the most, the design side, for example. No, I learned everything. I learned how to do the little tasks and how to do the greater tasks, so that today I can, if we have someone on site who doesn't know how to do something, I can teach them. I can take a moment to teach them. So besides that, what else do I do in our company? Right now, we're a family business, and we do have, thank you, Virginia. We do have 5 people on staff. Technically, they're all our family members. They all own part of the business. It's just the way that the business ended up developing this year specific, actually. So everyone has a side that they take care of. We have the marketing side, we have the on-field side, we have the admin side, and we have the planning and design side of our business. And all of these things are essential to what we do today. So today's projects, on a given day, we are managing 3 to 4 projects, 2 being larger projects, 1 being a small project, or 4 smaller projects, depending on how business is going. But we're able to do that because we've developed a system where we can maintain, organize. One of the biggest things I would say for me right now is making sure that there is leadership in place in our company. And because it's family, a lot of times, because obviously we work with family members, because it's family, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. But it's just like, the way I see it, it's just growing, right? It's just a little bit of growing pains. So for the past 8 years, we used to do something this way. This year, we're gonna change it. This year, I finally took over fully as the main owner of the company. This was the year. So I started to make some main changes on how we do business and how we do development and leadership in our business. And so there has been some growing pains, but that's totally expected. And because it was expected, we prepared for it. So we gathered a financial advisor on our side. We had a business plan in place for a year. We prepared a business plan for 5 years. So everything was everything was written, everything was planned for. However, here's the one thing that I will say. Whenever you make a plan, there's always something's always going to change. Nothing is ever going to go exactly as you planned, right? So you plan for flexibility as well. And then the other thing that was important to our plan, since this plan came into effect December 2022, we're almost a year in. What was important to this plan as well was that whatever we said we're going to do, we're going to do. We can't just say we're going to do something and then not fight to do it. You could be flexible, you could change your goal, but it is so important that you set a goal at the beginning of the year or even before the year starts, and then just fight to get that goal accomplished. I had a couple of other notes here. So that's in planning, and then development as well in our business has what we see as development is where are we going? So this year was a good year for us where we got to put a lot of things to the test, a lot of changes that we wanted to make, both financially, with subcontractors, and within our company. So we started the changes at the beginning. We were flexible with them. We moved what we needed to move around. We did all that. But with development as well, you have to pour into the people. So what we did at the beginning of the year, we also took, and this was odd for me, to be honest, because I was getting reviewed by my brothers, essentially. So at the beginning of the year, we asked everyone to review the leader and the leader to review everyone else. And so I got so much feedback from them where I needed to develop certain skills. I needed to, there were so many good things, but there was also things that I needed to develop. So developing people is very important. Developing yourself and pouring into yourself is also very important when it comes to doing a business, running a business, whether you're running a business with your friend, you're running a business with your dad and your brothers, or you're running a business on your own. You got to pour into people. You got to pour into yourself. And the last thing that I do as the leader of FCM is I'm here to make the decisions. The easy decisions, should we make this a half day and go to the beach and on summer Fridays, or should we spend, I don't know, X amount of money on a new tool, a new car, or whatever we need to. So, or do we need to have a hard conversation with a subcontractor who is not meeting the expectations of his contract? Like, these are the easy decisions and also the hard decisions. So you have to be ready to make those decisions as well. And then once you make that decision, you can't be going back and forth saying like, oh, maybe I should have said that, or you can't say one thing and then do another thing because your credibility then is lost. So when you decide, you have to, first of all, you have to weigh cons and pros, of course, get all your information. You decide with facts, you don't decide with emotions, and then you go and you do it. And the last thing that I want to tell you girls is I do believe it's all girls. So 3 things that have made me who I am today, and I'm excited to where FCM is going for next year because we already started planning next year, and I am excited to see where we're going. So number 1, you have to be bold. And bold is not just like a statement that you make about yourself. It's a mentality. So you have to be bold. You have to go. So you have to go when everyone else is telling you to stay. And if you have to realize if they're telling you to stay because of fear or because of lack of information or whatever it is, figure it out and then make the decision to go, to move forward, because staying stuck or staying stagnant or exactly where you are it is not a good decision. Always move forward as a leader, whether you own a business or you are a leader in your workplace, move forward. And then lastly, the people who are around you are so important, both in your walk with Christ, of course, because they're going to uplift you, but also the people that you decide to have around you. That's going to be your financial advisors, it's going to be your accountants, and it's going to be the kind of friends that you have. I had a thought the other day that I just can't get out of my mind. That the thought was like, if you want to be an eagle, if you want to soar like an eagle, you have to hang out around eagles. So look at your circles. Who are you hanging out with? Who is pouring into you? Are you surrounded by people who are, going to influence you or encourage you? If you have an awesome idea for a business, are they going to tell you, go for it? I know a guy who's interested, or I know a guy or girl who's a really good accountant, and just like help you pursue that dream. But yeah, that's all that I have for you guys.
That was awesome. Yes, thank you for that. Great job. Some great good points. I was taking some notes. It's always good to remind ourselves, and I believe in iron sharpens iron. We can all learn from each other. But some great points, especially this last one. If you want to soar like an eagle, you have to hang out with eagles. You can't hang out with turtles. It's like, it's not going to take you anywhere. And you got to balance that out, know when to. And then that point about being bold, as women, we have to be bold. We have to stop and I was talking to someone recently about that, just those limiting beliefs, just thinking that limit us from moving forward. You had to take that and it's not always going to be easy. It's not meant to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But that developing yourself, that's part of that. Learn to develop yourself, obviously you pouring into your people, but you need to pour into yourself first, because you can't pour out of an empty cup. So that was great. I can keep on, but I want our participants to ask some questions. So if you have a question for Cristal, please come off mute or raise your hand and ask your question. Ask away. It's good stuff.
I think Virginia has her hand up.
All right. So let's go with Virginia first.
Hi, Cristal, thank you. I loved your confidence in your presentation. I mean, just so bold and so intentive, very intentional with what all you've done. I love how you spoke about your team, and it wasn't just, the workers or, your family, but, Christ and everybody else in your circle. You talk so much about development and training. There are so many resources out there to pick from. How do you select what resources and training for yourself, for your team? I'd like to hear a little bit more about that.
Okay, great question. So this year I was given the 5 levels of leadership at the beginning of the year. That is an excellent book to read. That's the first one. That's my first one that I would suggest. And that one was given to me by our financial advisor, who started working with us about a year and a half ago. So he's become someone that I trust, someone who knows more about business than I do. So if I have a question, I'm going to go to someone who's, number one, who has the credentials, right? They have the credibility behind them. Whether they went to school or not, that's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see how they are doing in life, how they're leading themselves, the people around them, things like that. And I'll ask them, what are you reading? What do you suggest that I read next? Here's where I am in life. What do you think I should be doing? Those kind of questions. And then, so there's that one, the 5 levels of leadership. I would suggest reading that one. And I think it's a good book to read constantly. It's very small, so you can read it over and over again, maybe like once a year. Test yourself once a year just to see, have you grown? Where are you? Where is your team? If a new team member is in there, what do they think about you? There's that one. Another one that was really good for me was Atomic Habits. That one was suggested by a friend, but this friend is an eagle. So again, if you want to be an eagle, you gotta hang out with eagles. So that one was a good book. The other resource that I have is mentors in my field, and mentors in like my spiritual field as well. People who you trust, people who want the best for you, and people who are going to have your back. So those are my resources.
That's great. So proud of my girl. All right, Lenny, next question.
Sorry. I have to start off with a comment first before I get into my question. But I was just like, wow. I'm sitting here, I'm listening to your story and you speak. I've known Cristal for a few years since, I got planted at church. And, I knew her family owned a construction business. And, when I think of Cristal, I'm like, yeah, she works in construction. But I'm like, listening to you now, I'm like, you do a whole lot more than that. Like in my head, it was just like, yeah, she does construction. I'm not sure what, but, in particular, but you have grown so much. Like, and just listening to you, I'm just like blown away. I'm like, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. You're amazing. And thank you for speaking today. So I think my thing is, because I know you work with your dad and your brothers, it'll get a little difficult in moments when it does. How do you guys get through that as a family to remain healthy for each other and for the business and keep pushing forward, from that moment of uncomfortableness, right? How do you guys get through that?
Great question, Cristal.
Yeah, really good question. And so I think we've actually developed a bit of a system for that, where before it was a little tough on me specifically, because I would come home and I would have everyone questioning me about, what are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing for the week? What are we doing about this? Where are we with this project? This, and the other. So I was still answering questions at 8 p.m. over dinner, let's just say. So then, as you learn, as you see what works and what doesn't, you develop a system. So our system today is that when we are at work before 8 a.m., I am your biggest fan. Still at work too, I am your biggest fan, but before 8 a.m., I am your sister. I am your best friend. I am your daughter. You are my dad. Give me all the hugs. Give me all the kisses. Let's do everything that we do as family. But once 8 a.m. hits, it's that automatic, like, okay, it's work time. Let's get it done. And that's just something that you develop with your team as well. Like, let's just keep going. Let's keep going. And it's understood within where we work. Like, if it's work time, work time. At 5 p.m., that changes again. Let's hang out. Let's go home. Let's have a good time. Let's have dinner. Of course, some things are going to trickle into your family life. It's going to be impossible not to. It's similar to when you go home and you talk about a bad day with your significant other or family. It's very similar to that. But what we like to do is we like to stay away from like finances, because that takes forever to talk about. We like to stay away from any problems that we experienced that we know we're going to have to deal with tomorrow. That's what we have tomorrow to deal for. So that's in place. Another thing that we did is we have quarterly meetings as a business entity that includes all 5 owners. So at those quarterly meetings, I address anything that needs to be fixed. They address any concerns. They bring them up to the table and we work on them. We also have bi-weekly finance meetings. It's just a 30-minute bi-weekly meeting where we just go over the finances really quick and a quick update on what's happening on project A, what's happening on project B, etc. And then finally, which is the one thing that I touched at the beginning of this question, was I used to get that question of what are we doing for the week? And I don't get it anymore because I took it as I need to prepare myself. I need to let everyone know what's happening. Me having it in my mind and them knowing it is totally different. So now I take that extra step of I'll put it in a document and just share it with everyone. Something as simple as that. So that's how we keep things, family on one side, business on the other.
So good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, great. Natalie, question.
Oh, I didn't have a question. I was like clapping. But I guess I can share the comment where I think immediately when you said that example of somebody like asking like what's expected for the week, that is something that for me, when I think about it, I'm like, oh, like how do you not know? But I do think that it also is something where I can help my team in that area where I can provide the extra like summary of what's happening. So I really like that. Thanks.
Yeah, I think you're always going to have some people who don't look at the documentation that you share. What I started doing is pointing them back to it. Oh, what are we doing X, Y, Z? What's the update? Here's the link. You know what I mean? Because if you're always answering the questions, they're never going to go look. They're going to rely on you to always answer the question. So we had those bi-weekly meetings where we'd share information and make sure that the team was advised. And in different places, like ministry is one thing, corporate is another, and obviously in small businesses may be a little bit different. But those touch points to, hey, air out what's going on, what are the issues, what we need to tackle, and prepare for it. And we have many times where we would send out the documents, send out the presentations for people to get prepared. And there's always that one or two people who don't do that. But then they don't want to be called on. That's a good question. So sometimes it takes a bit of hand holding in the beginning, but then there has to be those tough discussions about what the expectations are. This is your role, and this is the expectations of that role. And making it clear to those people of what those things are. Making it clear to yourself, what is your role? What are the expectations for you? And then document those things. But I was quick to point them back to, hey, when they asked a question that I knew was in the document that I shared, here's the link. The answers are there, unless it was something urgent. But it's like the word, and I don't know if this is in the Bible, I think it is, or it's just a saying of if you teach a man to fish, he'll be able to feed himself. If you're always providing the fish, then they're not going to be able to fend for themselves. They're going to be relying on you to always provide. So that's one of the things that has worked for me in the past. Every time there's a new team, I may have to dust it off and do it again, because it's one of those things that's cyclical. As people are coming in, or just the same people, we tend to revert back to our bad habits. So we have to help them and help ourselves develop good and better habits. So any other questions for Cristal? This is great. Okay. Let's see. I see, Marie, you're thinking. That's the great thing about being on video. It's like, ooh, I see the bubble. All right. Any?
I want to say I'm proud. It's amazing.
Yeah. No,
I just want to say you're doing amazing. It's really awesome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And thank you, Cristal. There's some of us who have known Cristal for a very long time, but we're still learning new things. As Lenny says, sometimes you just don't know. You see people all the time, you're having fun on a personal level, but there's so many layers to us, especially as women. There's so many roles that we're functioning in all the time. So yeah, I like the resources that you mentioned. I'm big on having mentors and coaches in your life. The books, just want to reiterate the two that she mentioned, The 5 Levels of Leadership and Atomic Habits.
Oh, there's one more that changed my life. The E-Myth. That's the name of the book. I don't remember what the E-Myth. Yeah, it's the E-Myth. That's a good one. If you are an entrepreneur, get that book.
Okay.
It's your mindset.
So the letter E and the word myth?
Yep, the E-Myth.
Okay, just making sure. All right, yes, I will. That's a good one to add to my list of resources to look into.
The 5 Levels of Leadership, is that a John Maxwell book?
Yes.
I'm looking at it right now, so I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just called the E-Myth, the other book. That one was a good one.
Okay.
Oh, I think I see it. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'll look those up. So yeah, there's a few things that you mentioned that I think resounds with all of us. Development is key, and we talked about that before. Pour into yourself to be able to pour into others. A key thing for me, it's don't decide with your emotions. We need to step back and weigh the pros and cons before we make decisions, and pray about it. If you're a woman of faith, pray about it, but definitely don't go with emotions right away, because we know where that could take us. And the people around us are so important. Having advisors, having friends that will be honest with you and will not just be yes people. Yes. I'm like, no, but you could be going down the wrong way. So I want you to tell me. We all have blinders, all of us, especially when we're focused on tasks. We may have some blinders. So it's good to have those people to say, hey, you may want to think about XYZ. Those are great people to have around you. So thank you for sharing that. I like that you prepare for those growing pains. And I see the trajectory of your journey, knowing you for as long as I've known you, the growth of having that financial advisor, that person that actually sat you down and say, hey, we need a business plan for a year, but we'd also need it for 5 years, and what that looks like. And yes, we have to build in some flexibility in there. And that goes for all of us, regardless of whether you have a business or not, even for your life. There's things that we want to achieve, or that we wish, I wish this, I wish that, I wish I could have this, whether it's a house, a new career, whatever it may be for you. The word is clear. Write the vision and make it plain. Start writing down those things, those desires that you have in your heart, and then pray about it, and then be like, okay, what steps can I take to get there? You don't have to do it all at once, but one step at a time gets you to your goal. If I want to exercise and I hate it, because I do, yeah, let me know. Don't get me up at 5 o'clock in the morning to try and run. That's not going to happen. However, maybe I could go at lunchtime. The point is to do something, right? I have a goal to lose weight. Then what am I doing? Am I changing my diet? Am I putting time on the calendar to actually walk at a certain time, to actually stretch at a certain time? So whatever the goal it is, it's for you, break it down in baby steps. Because as you start doing those things, then it starts becoming good habits. And when you look back, it's like, wow, look where I am today. And that all starts with planning for it. Yeah, be flexible about it. Okay, I'm not going to get up at 5, but okay, at noon, at lunchtime, I'm going to go take a walk. And if I do that consistently every day, then I'll start seeing the progress. For me, well, if it's a weight thing, I'm just using that one because everybody can relate to losing weight, but I can start seeing the pounds starting to shed, right? With just that consistency of walking, because I'm doing something different and I'm adding it to my routine every day. Same with whatever goal you have in your life, whether it's going back to school, whether a career shift, transition, buying a car, whatever it may be. Okay, what steps are you taking? And are you being real with yourself? Do you have people around you that you can go to and talk about these things, who can be real with you? Not people who, and we have to be careful with that, because not everybody, and I don't want to say not that they're for you, because a lot of people are for you, but you don't want other people to put their disbelief on you. I think that's the right way to say it. Or their lack of, because they didn't do it and it didn't work for them, then they're projecting that on you. So we need to be very careful, because I've gone to people like that, like, oh yeah, but then they start listing all of the negatives. And some of those things, yeah, make sense. Oh, you may not have the money right now. Okay, we'll start saving. There has to be a positive. There has to be okay, you're not there yet, but these are the things that you can do to get there. I hear from people who, even their own parents have reflected their limited beliefs on you. Like, oh, well, we've always done it this way. Or, and Cristal, you spoke about that. Oh, we've always done it this way. So there's pain in trying to do something different. There's fear in trying to do something different. There's a lot of apprehension with trying to do something different. So you need to step back and be like, okay, have people who are going to rah, rah, rah and be your cheerleaders, but also who will say, okay, make sure you're looking at this. Make sure you're not overlooking that this is going to take work, but are going to encourage you to get there. That makes sense? Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, we have just a few more minutes. If anyone wants to ask another question, or Cristal, if you want to share anything else with our ladies. You shared a lot, and I am so thankful. You should be proud. It went really, really well. And we're so proud of you, of where you were, where you are right now, and just the business and the growth, even in this. And I've told you this personally, so I think I could share just in the past year and a half. So kudos to you, my friend, and everything that you're tackling, and for being bold and not shying away from this huge challenge before you. I guess I'll ask one question if no one else will. Because you're in an industry that's very male dominated, and I'm sure you've gone through some experiences where that authority somewhat made you feel less than. So can you talk a little bit about how did you overcome that in being in that environment?
So when I started the call, I had mentioned I was 14, there was only guys everywhere. And that I never for a second did I ever think like, this is not something that I couldn't do. I didn't want to do it at first, but I never thought this is not something I can't do. Today, construction, I think I want to say about 10% of all construction workers are women, only 10%. And of that 10%, about 1% of women have either a leadership position or in carpentry specifically, or own businesses even. But for me, there was only one moment in my life where I felt like, man, am I in the right field? Am I ever going to make it? And it was because one of my subcontractors came on site, and he was giving us an estimate for something. And one of my employees was working there, but he happened to be just a little bit bigger, happened to have green eyes and everything. So he looked like the boss, right? Mm-hmm. And so the subcontractor kept asking him questions, kept going to him for any comments that he had, and this and the other. And the guy is looking at me like, ask her. She's the one who's in charge. Like, ask her. And the other sub was, I don't even remember his name. The other sub was just like going above me because I'm shorter. So he was literally just going above me, and I'm just in front of him. Like, I'm asking the questions. I'm the one who's going to pay. And I felt so disrespected. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was, I want to say, maybe like 3 years ago. And I hadn't experienced that ever in my career. Like, every place that I worked with, I've always been more than welcome to work with the guys. But, obviously I come in with a lot of confidence that I know what I'm doing, this and the other. So that's step one, come in with confidence and own the place. Yeah. But when someone disrespects you like that, you don't have to let them around you. You don't have to work with them. You just choose not to work with them. And if I was in that position where I could choose, but if you cannot choose, then you have that hard conversation with that person, and you tell them calmly and respectfully, you tell them, hey, you disrespected me. I did not like that. what can we do to make this relationship work? We are both professionals. So you could bring that up to them. And that's really how I have handled the whole women in construction thing. But I mean, if I ever do happen to have another one of these moments, if I can choose to not work with this person, I won't work with this person. But if it's not possible and the conversation doesn't work, then I'm gonna go to Eneri and I'm gonna talk to her about it. Or I'm gonna go to another mentor and be like, what can I do? What am I here? Because I'm here to stay. So that's the way I see it.
That's good. Yeah, I think it is challenging when we deal with people who are disrespectful, but I'm with them, like, stand your ground and let them know, hey, that was uncalled for, and this is the way I expect to be treated. And if you can't treat me that way, then we don't need to have a relationship. But I think lots of times people don't say anything. Speaking to my friend earlier today, where her daughter works in a dealership, and she was constantly being talked down to, or not so nice phrases. It was just male chauvinistic pigs who were just attacking her with their words. And she chose to leave the job because it just became very toxic. And I don't know the rest of the story, but it hurt me to hear that with somebody that I love. You don't want anybody to feel that, to feel to the point that they feel so oppressed that they have to leave the job. So I would recommend people to have that conversation and let them know and put them in their place. And that's going back to, we need to be bold. We need to know our worth, our value, and not let anybody step on us and I think you can do that with love and grace, because you don't have to stoop to somebody else's level. Now, could I have done this 25 years ago? Probably not. And even prior to that, like, I just dealt with it. Like, I didn't say anything, but as you're mature and you grow and you learn, you'll be like, no, that is not acceptable. You can have that conversation and have it out where there's other people, because I think often people like that will take advantage that there's other people and will say things to make you feel uncomfortable. But if you do it back to them, they don't like it, right? Because people like that tend to be cowards. But yeah, we need to get to a place where we're comfortable in our own skin, and we know what we bring to the table, and we all have value. All of us have value. No one should disrespect us in any way. Some people may disrespect you, not even realizing that they're disrespecting you. And that's where you have to have the conversation with them. And if they're not, and if they're doing it on purpose, then you still have that conversation. Let them know that it's not acceptable. And if it continues, then if you have a choice to move on, then move on. Because no one should be in a toxic environment. No amount of money in this world can help you deal with a toxic environment, because that's affecting you emotionally. It starts affecting you physically, and it's depressing. It hurts, right? And so who wants to feel like that all the time? Right? So if you can, get a mentor to coach you, to let you, to just be behind you and support you. But yeah, it's like, no one deserves that. No man, no woman, no nobody. So respect is huge, and it should be. I think we can all take a nugget or two from the things that Cristal shared with us today. I know I can. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining.
You guys are awesome.
Thank
you.
And I'll leave you with this one thing, because I'm getting a call from a town hall. So I'll leave you with this one thing. I know that I had not mentioned a lot about God in our call and how God has impacted us in business, but truthfully, you have to do everything for him, and you have to do everything knowing that you are to glorify him. And this is something that I started growing with this year. So, it's never too late in life. It's never too late in business to invite him, but truly invite him into your business. That's my last thing. But love you guys.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.